yeah, I thought it'd be fun to change it up this year. You know, I got to thinking about it. What got me into this whole world of tenor, guitar, and banjo, really, my teacher at the time, Buddy Griffin, didn't have an extra tenor banjo. I wanted to play tenor banjo, but he did have a tenor guitar. And I remember being kind of let down, you know, because he said, well, I'm sorry, Tyler, I don't have a banjo right now. I'm working on it, but why don't you borrow this? And he handed me an old Gibson TG15 archtop. And I was kind of bummed because I really wanted a banjo. But, you know, I fell in love with the sound of a tenor guitar. It was really the first tenor-tuned thing I held in my hand. And immediately started hearing about this guy named Django Reinhardt. And of course, just the name by itself grabbed your attention. It's such a fascinating, what is that? And then you learn about, oh, he's a gypsy, and he plays like nobody else. He kind of single-handedly created this whole new genre. Hey, how's it going? Yeah. And what struck me, though, about his playing was how similar it is to banjo playing at the time. There's a lot of real fast right-hand stuff, a lot of tremoloing, that kind of stuff. Even these broken chord strokes he'll do. And, you know, also playing the tenor banjo, four-string banjo, a lot of the celebrities, you know, from that area, like Perry Bechtel and some of these guys, they did those same sort of strokes. So it seemed really similar to me. It made sense to me, whereas Charlie Christian style guitar or bebop or whatever just didn't quite make sense to me at the time. So I spent a lot of time listening to the early Hot Club stuff and trying to play it on tenor banjo. But now that I got this thing, it kind of, I don't know, I thought, man, I need to go back and sort of replicate the true gypsy guitar sound again. And so I started thinking about it. You know, I started playing this and I listened back. I'm a big fan of recording myself whenever you're practicing. And I highly recommend that if you're not doing it. Just nowadays it's easier than ever. Take out your smartphone, hit the voice memo button, and just record yourself and listen back. And one thing I noticed when I was analyzing my own playing is I didn't sound like I was playing, I mean, I'm playing a gypsy jazz Selmer style guitar, but I had to go back and go, you know what? I'm not playing a lot of the left hand and right hand stuff that really makes it sound like a gypsy sound. Because let's be honest, you can get a great, you know, Django gypsy sound on a flat top guitar too. You know, it's not really the guitar that makes it. It's the left hand and right hand techniques. So I thought we'd just go over a couple of those real quick, and then maybe if we have some brave volunteers, we might do a basic like Honeysuckle Rose or Exactly Like You or something, and just get in a little circle here and sort of play and just kind of implement some of these techniques we're about to talk about. Now, I know we talked briefly just now. You play a little bit of gypsy jazz. Anybody else, is that kind of a thing you guys do, or is this new to you? Okay, cool. Nice. Okay, good. Pretty new. Okay.
I'm a wannabe.
That's okay. So I apologize if any of this is, you know, I'm trying to appeal to the whole crowd here, so some of it will be very, very basic. But just to start, let me just play a tune for you. And I'm going to try to channel on fifths tuning some of my inner Django. Let's see. that was a good lesson in to keep going when you break a string, I guess. Let me change
The
this.
first thing I see is your chord fingerings are unlike anything that I see on any of my chord books.
Correct.
Why am I misguided?
Well, you're not misguided. Listening to guitar players and even plectrum banjo players, I was always trying to imitate those harmonies on the tenor guitar. If you were to go to a piano and play a basic C chord, like a tenor C chord, it would take 2 hands to play the full range because the notes are spread so far. When you're listening to, plectrum banjo or 6-string guitar, the harmony is really tight. So a lot of what you're seeing there, even before I broke the string, of course, when you break the string by default, you have to do all these.
Good job.
They're 3-string chords because I'm trying to avoid that high-pitched A string and play these inside voicings. So that's a good ear because that is something I actively try to do, is play these tighter harmonies. Now the modern gypsy guys, nobody wants to be just a carbon copy of Django, right? So they're all kind of doing their own thing now. Borelli Legreen, all these guys. They have more elements of modern jazz. And right there, I kind of had to resort, because the string broke, just get through the tune.
Good job.
But thanks. but that's the name of the game, and that's a whole other lesson right there. Is, don't get nervous or freak out when an accident happens. Just keep going. Don't lose the time. I don't know. Maybe the video will tell here. Maybe I wasn't correct, but I tried pretty hard just to keep playing through it.
Can you
Right?
describe the rhythm of Django Reinhardt? Is it
Good
different
question.
timing?
Well, it swings, but in a different way. It's not like a real. It's a real on top of the beat swing, and of course the rhythm section. Sorry, what? Yes.
It's like more like a lot of these
All
down.
Right.
Is all downstroke? That's my question too.
Well, there's a few things here. So, for example, he always had 2 guitar players. Not always, but a lot of the typical hot club stuff we hear is 2 guitar players surrounding him and a bass player, and they're real tight. Very and but there's a technique I'm going to show you here in a second. Let me
Now,
warm this up here.
is that what you're talking about? Similar to the mandolin chop?
It's similar. It's not
Okay.
quite the same, but it is. It's a percussive type of rhythm.
Okay.
That really drives the band.
They call it le pomp.
Yeah, la pomp. Right, exactly. Yeah. There's one particular rhythm stroke I really love, and it's unique to gypsy, and it's where you bounce your fingers. Let's do it in the key of C. It sounds a little different on 6-string guitar, but here's the basic idea. So you'll hear them play, their basic rhythm. And by the way, I'm not an expert on this stuff, right? You can go online and there's a million people, but I'm kind of trying to show you how I would approach it on tenor or 5th tuning. Thank you. Yeah, this should work. But there's a couple little stereotypical, gracias, things you can do. One of these, you have the normal. So it's long, short, long, short, long, short, long, short, right?
So are you chopping that with your finger?
With the left hand. And the left hand, the right
So
hand
it's
is
a quick mute. Then.
yeah, and really what it is a quick release. So you have long, short, but your fingers don't completely leave the strings; they just lift up briefly. So try that for a second on your instrument. Take a C chord of any kind, just play a C chord, so we're at least kind of together. Yeah. So be long, short, long, and let's do a little slower. Let's try it like this. Let me start and you jump in here after about 4 strums. Good. Okay, a little faster. So that's what I would consider, once again, I might get crucified over this by the gypsy experts, but to my ear, that's what it sounds like when I hear your basic Django rhythm. It's very, if you're strictly a rhythm player, they don't deviate much. You know, they are there as a function, almost like a percussive element. You know, like because there's not a, well, maybe nowadays they might use drummers sometimes, but in the original stuff, no drums, right? So we're basically subbing for the drum element, the percussive element. You know, so it's very just, you know, all day long. And Django and Stefan were the stars. You know, they were the ones doing all the creative stuff. The bass, also being a bass player, I noticed this a lot. Very simple bass, you know, oftentimes out of tune, you know, but that doesn't matter because it was there for, once again, just to serve the function. You know, they were there to support Django and Stefan, you know. Now, here's a stroke that I think is really cool. I'm going to keep this a little low. I don't want to break it again. Those have been on there for a while, so it was overdue. But here's another one. Django does this a lot too when he's backing up Stefan. I'll play. Sounds a little different on tenor. So what's making it sound a little odd to me is the high A string. So I'd probably resort to those 3-string voicings you brought up. He does that a lot too. Take this, triple it up on these offbeats. So it'd be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2 it on beat 2. 1. You know, he always seems to do them in sets of 3s. So if he was playing, Stefan's taking a solo, you know, right here, you know, that's very, and it's always kind of at the end of the A section or end of, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, you hear that? So that's very, once again, very wristy, which is very banjoistic, right? My teacher, Buddy Griffin, the way because I really wanted to play like that when I was a kid. I'm like, all you guys, like Johnny over here and Buddy, and you guys have these super fast right hands. You know, just can out of nowhere just do this crazy cool tremolo. Like, how do you do that? You know, because I'm sitting there all stiff. You know, he's like, no, you're going about it all wrong. He said, imagine you have a wet dish rag you're trying to wring out. You know, shake out. How would you do it? You know, what's the most efficient way to do it? You wouldn't go like that, you know, or like this. You would just listen to your body.
Whip it.
Yeah, your wrist. You get a lot of motion out of that. Real light. So I started practicing in the air. Because if you can't do it in the air with no resistance, you're not ever going to be able to do it with resistance, with the strings in the way. So just hover over the strings. You can try this right now. Real light. And don't use your arm. I mean, you're basically just wringing out that rag in the air, right? Real light. Yeah, real light. Back and forth, back and forth. It doesn't have to be fast. You can just get it, you know, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And then you slowly bring it closer to the strings. Come back up. You don't have to overthink it. Yeah, real light. You want to think of all 4, in our case 4 strings, in your case 5, all the strings as one big string. Okay? Don't think of them as multiple strings. We're just strumming through all of them. So when you hear like a gypsy guy do that, and those are timed, you'd call it, it's a triplet really when you're subdividing it. Triplet eighth, triplet eighth, triplet eighth, triplet eighth. That's how you'd write that out in music notation. But that other thing, let's talk about that. I don't even know what the term is. I'm sure somebody has a term for this. Is this whack, whack, whack kind of thing you hear? Yeah, you know that thing Django does? All of a sudden he'll just start doing it. Go. So this is where you're bouncing your fingers on every beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. I'm exaggerating just so you see this. But and there's a tucka, 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 down, up, down, up, down, up with your right hand as well. The upstroke does not strike all 4 strings. The upstroke is only just going to kind of kiss this first string. So it's going to be all 4 and then top string, first string. Right? A lot of people overdo this. They think you have to, because you're strumming all 4 strings on the downstroke, you have to strum all 4 strings on the upstroke. But that would be way too sloppy sounding. You know, that's really hard to do, and you'd get fatigued, and you couldn't do that for long. And you don't need to, because you still get the same effect just hitting that first string. So if you want to practice this, and I wish I had a better term or a name for this, but listen to some Django Hot Club stuff. You'll hear him do it. He does it all the time. Chicka 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 chicka. Right? So that's a real quintessential. Now Django is normally the one that would do that. It wasn't the brothers or whatever playing rhythm. They would stick to their, you know. Boom, 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 boom. You always have the 2-beat bass, you know. Another thing is vibrato. So when let's get away from rhythm for a second and talk about more when you're soloing or playing melody. Do a real fast vibrato on all of the notes. You know, so you have to practice. I like to do vibrato with multiple fingers on the string. I don't know if that's what they do, a lot of the gypsy guys, but I find it just doesn't fatigue my hand as much when I have a single finger. I use, and you have the other 2 strings holding the string down behind the note that's getting vibrated, and you're not working quite as hard. That's what we do on upright bass too, by the way. When you play classical upright bass, every finger, you keep the previous fingers down behind it. So you go to, if I play 4th finger on upright bass, I don't go like that. I go like that, you know. Or if I do the 2nd finger, same thing. So if it makes sense for an instrument like that, I think it makes sense for this one. That's what I do. So if I'm vibrating my middle finger, I'll keep 2 fingers. You know, you can also. I'm sorry. I know I wasted a little time with the broken string, so I'm trying to make up for lost time here. But you can also do something similar. Another effect is bends. They do, and that's why they use really light strings on these guitars, because you need to. Yeah, that's very common. Let's pick a song. I think this song here that you could play a song in the style of something slow and sweet. I almost want to pick something that's not a gypsy song, just to show you how. Like, okay, here's one. This is totally not a Django tune at all. You know this one? Yeah, Elvis, right? So just to show you how it's not the songs or even the instrument that matters as much. It's these techniques that give you this gypsy sound. So if I were playing this, trying to do it in a Django style, I'd probably go. Right? Which is totally different than how I'd play it if I was playing jazz. If I was playing like more straight ahead jazz, it'd probably be like 1, 2, 3. But if I was doing gypsy, you know, very almost classic.
Staccato.
Yeah, staccato, classical. It's kind of where it's coming out of. Remember, this is in France, and it's, you know, totally different than New Orleans or New York or whatever. They have a lot of classical influences. So
all those were downstrokes when you just played that.
that's what I do a lot. Now you can get into the. I'm sure anybody that studied gypsy stuff has heard. There's all kinds of picking things. Honestly, for me, I don't even think about that stuff. I don't think about string crossings. I just kind of go for it, and if it doesn't work out one way, I try it the other way. I'm very simple like that. I feel like, this is my opinion, but I feel like a lot of people waste too much time when they could, you know, researching, did you double down here or up there, here, whatever, instead of just practicing and seeing what works for you. That's just my opinion, though. Same with theory. It's really easy to get lost in the weeds with music theory, you know. I mean, it's helpful for sure, but I've always found theory for me is helpful maybe to explain something I've already played and figure out why that worked, rather than using it from the beginning to create something, you know. Like for example, if I'm listening to a solo line I'm trying to copy by ear, transcribe, I'm not thinking, oh, he used a D mixolydian there and then went to a half super low cream and then, I'm not thinking that. I figure out the solo first, then look at how it works under the chord change or whatever, over the chord change. And if, then from there I can infer that was this mode or that mode or a half step up or whatever. But it really is something I use to explain after the fact. Now, that might work for you. You might like theory, but for me personally, I always use it. I don't know. I don't waste too much time. I just like to play. And I feel like the quickest way to get good is to transcribe stuff by ear. Even if you don't think you have a good ear. Start really, really slow. Just do it one note at a time. Like this gypsy stuff, there is never a tenor guitar in gypsy jazz, right? But there I was, with my little Gibson TG15 and, cassette player and rewind and stop and rewind and play. And there wasn't, I didn't have the slow down software or slow down machines. You just had to glisten, keep trying. And that was closer, but I missed,
Just hunt and peck.
a lot of hunting and pecking. A lot, exactly. I'll take the melody, and if you guys both can, you're going to be my rhythm guitar players, okay?
Fair enough.
Okay? Now, if you want to, does either of you want to take a solo?
Yeah, maybe.
You can kind of noodle, and there's
We'll see how
no
it
pressure.
goes, okay?
No pressure at all. If you can just throw in one little vibrato, or, there you go, yeah. Or a tremolo. Okay, here's another thing Django did a lot, was tremoloing from a note to the starting note of the solo. Right? That kind of stuff. Real banjoistic stuff, right? Yeah, and that's a great way to start your solo if you're playing a gypsy jazz song. Let's say, for example, we're getting to the end of Honeysuckle Rose. So here's the end. So you do this. Right? That's an easy way to kind of go, hey, I'm here. Because Django did that all the time. It's very simple. It's just just make sure you land on the right note.
So are you hitting the string every fret that goes down, or just?
Yeah, I mean,
You don't have to.
yeah, you can stop wherever you want. Another thing he'd do, sorry, we'll do this in a second. Stay up here. Another thing he would do is take an arpeggio. And he would go right?
Wow.
Right? Real simple, but very effective. So you hit a note and then hammer on. Always a half step below each note of the arpeggio. Right? Real simple. I mean... that's very... You do that too a lot. You have to have the right hand for it eventually, but I guess what I'm saying is there's certain little tricks or licks in the Django bag. You can immediately give off that vibe, where I probably wouldn't do that as much in country music or straight ahead jazz or Dixieland or whatever, trad jazz. But in gypsy, it's totally legit and it works really well.
There's not a lot of them either. There's
No,
like 10 of them.
it's a very small bag of tricks, and they're very effective. Chromatic descending. He does that a lot. I know some more will come to me. A lot of these kind of where you're holding one note and walking down another.
Is that octaves?
Don't break on me. Yeah. No, so this is basically, if you're in the key of C, you're grabbing the fifth and the flatted seventh. And I'm just walking down that fifth, so now it's a sharp 4, flat 5, 4, to the third, while holding down that seventh the whole time. Okay? So there's all those little things that are very gypsy sounding to me. All right, let's play this, and I'll play the melody, and then just take a real simple solo. Don't worry about doing anything too crazy here. Just kind of throw in some of these elements, real like a tremolo maybe, just to start. or maybe this. Anything like that. Honeysuckle Rose in the key of F. Okay, we'll just start right on it. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Octave, this other one. Yeah.
I've lost it.
That's okay. Yeah, it's okay. Now we're almost to the bridge. Here's the end of the A section. Yeah, here's the bridge and ready, go. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Now tremolo.
I see
Yeah.
it. Tremolo. I'm left-handed. I can't
Gotcha.
do it with my right
Okay,
hand.
now you want to take something here? We're almost there. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, here's the top. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, go. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so right now, both of you guys actually did something there that was really cool. You used that tremolo, you know, to get up to a note. I thought that was really cool. And you used a bend or two in there that was very quintessential.
Wrong note, but I bent it.
Well, it's okay. Bend it. It's okay. It's a wrong note, right? So it's a bend. It can be a wrong note. So, but just right off the bat, even those two little things distinguish, in my opinion, distinguish you from being. You're not playing bluegrass. You're not playing like that's a very. To me, it sounded like it fit the genre really well.
What can you say about getting vibrato out of a short scale instrument?
Let's see. Let me attempt
It
it here.
seems kind of tough.
It is tough, especially with the doubled string.
Yeah, that's the hard thing. It's the doubles.
You got to bend them? Light strings. They're probably heavy.
I mean, it's doable.
Can be done.
It will get you out of tune, probably. But a lot of it is shaking this way,
You shake the whole instrument. son.
Yeah,
You shake
uh-huh.
the whole instrument.
right? And then, yeah, you can get it. It's a little harder. I'll give you that. It's definitely harder, for
There's
sure.
Strength in the old digits too.
And if you were gonna play, do you own more than one mandolin?
I got a bunch of them.
Oh, good. So if you're going to play gypsy jazz on mandolin, I would suggest really light string.
Oh,
Like almost what you would use for a classical, bowlback mandolin or something.
kind of imitate.
They're like nines. Right.
Kind of imitates Stepan Gurkowicz.
Well, that's true too. Yeah. That's a whole nother story.
Anyway,
Yes.
Nine is your highest string, number one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does that go to like 20?
So, like for example, that's actually a good point. Let's just go ahead and talk about that. So I'm using CGDA tuning on this. Okay. So my lowest string is a C, highest is an A. I'm using a 10, 14, 21, and like a 30 on this, which for me is pretty light. For banjo I use like 11, 15, 24, 36 sometimes. Quite a bit lighter on this because you really want to get that bend, and the vibrato. Now, what's another thing you might notice? And there's no wrong answer here. I'm just curious. about the right hand. Where is the pick most of the time? Is it closer to the bridge or closer to the fingerboard when you're playing this style of music? Bridge. Good. Closer to the bridge. And the reason, yeah, exactly. You want that staccato, and not only just the short staccato sound, but the tone is very treble heavy. It's, you know, listen to this. Even if I'm not playing staccato, even if I let it ring. Versus, very big difference, right? It's got a nasally kind of sound, right? Which you want in this style of music. I think one of the reasons this was, if you go back and listen to those early Hot Club recordings, you can hear the guitars really well, you know. They cut through, just like a banjo did. You know, once
Down
again,
on the bridge.
very similar to a banjo, yeah. And they would do that to get, you know. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but that's funny side note. You know who one of Willie Nelson's biggest influences was on his tone? It was Django.
Really?
Yep.
Really?
Yep, big time. And how does his guitar sound? Very nasally. It's very,
As well as very holy.
yeah, exactly. Good one.
Well, you can see where it's worn out. On his
Yeah,
guitar,
right there, yep.
downward there at the bottom.
Yeah. Yeah, so and that's one of the reasons, from what I know, I mean, he chose a nylon string guitar as well.
Yeah.
Because even though these don't use nylon strings, it's similar. Selmer McAfee, they're trying to make more of a classical style guitar, like a modern classical kind of guitar. So they use these silk or silver-plated copper strings and stuff that were very different than the phosphor bronze and Monel and all that stuff we were using. Yeah, so it's kind of, if you just played a gypsy guitar for somebody that knew nothing about them, they would probably, and I mean not looking at it, just hearing it, they'd probably think it was either some sort of classical sounding. I mean, it's very similar to it's more similar to a classical sounding guitar than it is like a arch top guitar or even a flat top dreadnought or something. You know, it's got, yeah.
You consider your guitar a gypsy guitar?
This one is. I mean,
Style.
it's an exact copy of a Selmer oval hole. Just the thing that makes it kind of weird is just hearing the tenor tuning. You know, you can't get a lot of the voicings that you would
Well,
get.
it's so loud with the small sound hole,
Right.
And with the floating bridge.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah, and this is an exact copy of and you know, technically these are arched. The tops are
like a
slightly
12
arched, very minimal. Yeah.
yeah.
So it is kind of it's a very cool design.
Is the bracing different underneath it then?
It's
has to be
ladder.
similar.
It's they're curved braces.
Because
Yeah.
the string tension's a different area instead of under.
Yeah.
top,
So you got a
top,
brace
bottom,
here. You
side,
got a
the
brace
back.
there. Yeah.
I think
Just-
your end block is really thick.
Very thick end block, yeah, and they're made exactly like the 6-string version. So it's not. I think the tops might be a little thinner on this tenor to get more
It's
sound.
so loud for such a small.
right. And this is a small one.
Very
It's only
loud.
14, barely 14 inches here.
With the rosewood, it just.
Yeah. Well, and I'm glad you brought that up. I was just about to say this. The way Selmer made these originally too, they didn't use solid rosewood. They used laminate. So it's laminated rosewood back and sides, but solid spruce top. Nowadays, luthiers are making whatever you want. They can make boutique. You know, you can get ebony back and sides or something. You know, you can
If you can get it.
yeah. Well, yeah.
They were also walnut necks.
Yeah. This one is. Yeah. This is walnut.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the low end stuff you see will use mahogany or whatever, but Selmer and this one doesn't have that scarf joint up here that they would use
So
for
is that
some.
one solid?
Yeah, which makes sense to me. Yeah.
So Tyler, tell me, when you play tenor banjo really well,
Thank you.
when would you choose to play a tenor guitar?
Good question. So I use a tenor guitar, and I have a couple. So this is more recent. It's been a fun thing for me, just to get that sort of. There's certain gigs. Sometimes the gig dictates it. They want a certain atmosphere. Like I played this at a winery not long ago where they really wanted that sort of Parisian vibe. So I'm not going to come in there with my tenor Telecaster or my tenor L5 kind of whatever, you know, that kind of thing. I mean, you could pull it off for sure. But this definitely, some of it's the look. I mean, I have to admit, you dress up in a nice suit, you have a scarf, whatever, a beret, you have a little mustache, get some, yeah, all right? And
Play with an accordion.
yeah, a little accordion, right? Exactly. But I also play a lot of almost like I mean, I don't want to compare myself to Wes Montgomery, but sort of 60s, late 50s, early 60s jazz guitar, kind of bebop, kind of, you know. So for that, I brought it up here in years past, but it's an L7C, an L7 cutaway with a D-Armon pickup on it. And I run that through a tube amp with a little bit of reverb, but real clean, you know. And then occasionally I'll use like a flat top, almost like a Martin 018T replica, you know, kind of like that right there, that Blue Ridge that you have. I have that exact guitar. Those are great. You've got the cutaway version here. Yeah, and this gold tone, same thing. They're all real similar. They're the flat top, you know. They sound. I use those more for when I'm backing up vocalists that are doing Americana kind of music. You know, I just want that sound that blends. You know, I don't want to bring a Telecaster, you know, to a jazz gig or whatever. I mean, I guess you could really, but you get what I'm saying. I sometimes it's the genre or the venue that dictates the instrument. Now, when I choose to play tenor banjo, it's usually, you know, thankfully there's a kind of a resurgence lately of these 1920s themed bars and stuff. There's a couple in Oklahoma City. You know, I'll play tenor banjo and get a rhythm guitar player or a clarinet player and a guitar player or a bass player and a trumpet or whatever. Wow. And or trombone. You know, we'll do kind of more trad jazz, but not exclusively. But this, you play. I can't overstate this enough. When you play an instrument and you get that sound in your head, it changes the way you play. Like all these little Django things I'm trying to do here, I was not really even playing until this guitar fell in my lap. I'm like, you hear that sound, you want to imitate the records you've heard. When you've got a big fat arch top with the humbucker on it and a tube amp and reverb, you're not going to be playing Django stuff. It's going to inspire you to play more, Johnny Smith or Wes Montgomery or Tal Farlow or whatever. You know, and you know, obviously, if I have more of a classic flat top guitar, I tend to do more, you know, I don't know. You know, which actually sounds pretty good on this, honestly, but they're similar, you know. And sometimes it depends on the other instrumentation, you know. Like if I have, if the gig, there's an upright bass player on it and a guitar player, I don't know, maybe I would want to play a guitar. But if there's a tuba player and a clarinet player, then a banjo, yeah, 100%. It just makes sense, right? Yeah.
But it's the same tune.
Same song. Well, you bring up another good point. The gypsy songbook and the trad jazz songbook, they kind of overlap a lot. Not always, because there are a lot of tunes that gypsy players wrote themselves, hot club players, whatever you want to call the genre. But they played Limehouse Blues, they played Coquette, they played Sweet Sue, they played Avalon, Honeysuckle Rose, Exactly Like You. You know, you can go on and on and on. They played a lot of the American songbook standards.
They just made it their own.
Yeah, a lot of times they would just, this style with these instruments, you know, not always, but usually with the fiddle, the violin, you know, Stefan style play, and even that's different. You know, that's a certain style. You know, that Stefan Grappelli's a very unique style, very different than Joe Venuti, say, you know, or any of the other contemporaries of that era. But Django was doing something drastically different than any other guitar player at the time. I mean, he was playing it like it was the lead instrument, and with a fire and a passion that even guys like Eddie Lang or whoever, all these other great and amazing guitarists, it was just different, you know. He was treating it like it was the lead, whatever, trumpet, or it was right there in your face, you know. It was the star of the show. You know, usually in the American guitar at that time, I mean, and this is a very broad, there's exceptions for sure. But yeah, you know, you're the rhythm player, and maybe occasionally you get a solo here or there. Yeah. That's about it. But Django was not, he was in the front, you know. Yeah, so when you play this style of music, you have to channel some of that in your own playing, that confidence. Even if you're not particularly, but just go out there and, you know, work up a few worked out solos even if you need to. By the way, that brings up another interesting point. There's nothing wrong with working up a solo for a song and then altering it a little bit, and then altering it a little bit more over time, and a little bit more over time. So you are eventually sort of improvising. But if you start out with a solid foundation of a solo that you've really worked out, now I would prefer it be your own, and not copying a solo. You can do that, but give them credit when you do. Don't plagiarize someone's solo, right? But that's a great way to get your feet wet if you're not particularly good at improvising solos. On the way down here, I was listening to a Louis Armstrong tune. And bringing up another point, don't just listen to guitar players or heaven forbid, tenor guitar players, because there's very few to listen to. But Louis Armstrong solos, to me, are the most musical, and I don't mean this in a, what's the term? I mean, simple in a good way. The purest form of improvisation you can get. And they're very accessible. And when you sort of deconstruct them on staff paper, you see common themes. You see a fair amount of arpeggiation, which Django does too. These arpeggios, right? Django listened to a lot of Louis Armstrong, by the way.
Played with him.
Played with him. Yeah, right, exactly. So you see that. You see the melody being thrown back in here and there in the solo. Louis did that a lot. He would play a little and then a hint of the melody after that. A long note, which Django would do with a tremolo, since we can't sustain like a trumpet could. He might go something like that, a little bluesy. Yeah, whatever. But a lot of precision arpeggios, tremolos, minor thirds, splatted seventh, blues, all that's in this gypsy stuff, There's a lot of that in there.
When you're doing the tremolo, are you going to the flatter end of the pick, or are you still at the end of it?
It doesn't.
It seems to me that it's easier to do it if it's on a flatter area than being on the pointed
That very well may be true. You feel free. You don't have to be up here if you don't want to, but you can. It's up to you. But that may be true in the beginning. And thanks, guys, for doing it. And, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Maybe just to get better. But I'll tell you this: you could hand me anything, and I can tremolo with it fine.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. So I'm not thinking of that.
That's the big issue at all.
Right. Eventually, but now starting out, it might help you.
So, for trying to get speed up, I'm slow of course I'm left-handed too, so that slows me down.
Well, it gives you a good fretting hand. Yeah.
But to try and get any speed up, but old men don't go real fast anyway.
Yeah. Remember to always go really gradual and use that metronome to gauge your progress.
Okay. All right.
Here's the thing. You probably, if anybody's sat in a workshop of mine ever, I say this all the time. My little, as they'd say in a YouTube thumbnail, my one weird trick to get fast at an instrument of any kind would be to take a metronome, whatever it is you're trying to do, start at a certain speed, say 60 beats a minute, whatever. So this is what I used to get fast at anything. Let's set it to 60 beats a minute. Okay, here we go. And it's not super loud. I should have brought my Bluetooth speakers, but okay. So I'll play quietly here. Okay, so here's my beat. And let's say I'm trying to play a lick. Okay. First you have to learn the lick. So don't use a metronome for that. But let's say you have the lick figured out. And it could literally be just the first part of Honeysuckle Rose. It'd be, okay, that's actually a great jazz vocabulary lick you use in over 2-5-1 chord changes. I don't want to go too far into that, but that's simple run. Okay. Now this could be anything, mind you. It could be a stroke or a technique. I'm going to just increase that by one beat. You can't tell the difference. I just went up to 61 from 60. Right? And then I go to 62, and eventually 63. Very similar, right? So, now, stop there and go on to something totally different. You're done with that for the day. The next day, you come back and you start at 63. And you let yourself eventually get to 66. So you're just going to do about 3 clicks a day. Don't go too much faster than that. Because it's really hard for your mind to tell the difference. And this is not a science, but this is just what I figured out. In general, 3 clicks is it's hard to, 2-3 clicks, very hard to tell the difference. So in a week, how many clicks faster would you be? 7 times 3. If we did 3 every day.
21.
Yeah, you're already 21 clicks faster in just a week. And then 2 weeks, we're up to 42 clicks, and 3 weeks. So in a whole month, you could get anything down in 1 month if you're approaching it like this, in this slow, progressive way. I just taught at this camp out in Port Townsend, Washington, a couple weeks ago. I did this demonstration. There's an old 20s. I guess it's a piece of music, but it's really an exercise. It's called Training the Fingers. And a guy named Harry Reeser, a banjo player that I really like, did this. He recorded it. And this is just the first half of it. Basically, the song modulates, starts in C minor, and it does this little haunting, there's a piano playing this. Right? Then it goes to D minor. And it does that, then it goes to G minor finally. So here's the melody, though. And it goes on and on and on and on. But I had to start at 60 and go before I let myself even get to 63.
That way, though. It
Yeah.
sounds good slow.
Well, that's, being personal, yeah.
Changes it
But the whole point of the song was to have this gradual progression in speed. So you go, let me go any faster than that. Right? And then the next day I'd be here, sounds the same basically. So you're sort of tricking yourself into thinking you're always at 60. But it does another thing more than just psychologically. Physically, it's giving your muscles, all these tiny little muscles, time to adapt. And my analogy is always, if you ever want to get, big and ripped or whatever, lifting weights, you can't just will yourself to bench press 300 pounds. Or even just keep doing it over and over again. You have to start at 100 or something or whatever, and then slowly put on a little bit more weight. Slowly put on a little. So why is that so obvious in something like that, but not with this? You can't. People over and over again, they just keep practicing the same way, just sloppy. They're playing fast all the time, expecting that one day it's magically just going to happen, instead of slowing things down and going real gradual and doing a real slow, progressive technique like this. So it can work for whole songs. It can work for little licks. It can work for right hand, left hand. Real quick, I touched on it earlier, this broken chord stroke that Django does a lot, that came from, I don't know who it came from originally, but I know Perry Bechtel was doing it in the 20s on a banjo. But it's this, and you can use it on all kinds of chords. You use it on a lot of, it's very. They use it a lot in gypsy jazz on like diminished chords or augmented, that kind of stuff. So what that is you need 3 strings, and you start. It's eighth notes. You start the first eighth note on an up stroke on your first string, up. Then you're going to go down, down, down. So down on the third string, down on the second string, down on the first string again. So it's up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up.
How would you count that off?
1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. So it's just 8 notes.
Like
One
you're
and
starting on an upstroke.
But
it's a downbeat.
Total triad then.
An upstroke.
Is it the downbeat? Is the downbeat? Yeah. So upstroke is beat 1, the downbeat. 1 and 2
And
and
it
3.
just kind of goes against what I've always been taught.
Well, yeah.
Downstroke's always 1. But,
Well, it is still 1. You're confusing downbeat with downstroke.
oh, okay.
So don't think of the stroke word. The upstroke is just an up pick. Up pick on the down beat, or beat 1. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and da 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 da. You can use it on chord inversions. Right? The trick is you gotta get to the next chord before that downbeat. 1 and 2 and then 3 is technically the third beat, but 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. Right? Isn't that cool? It's a really cool sound. But that's very gypsy jazz. Well, thanks guys. Thanks for being here. I hope you got something out of it. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you.